Hi everyone, it's Miss Johnson. Welcome back to our next book that's going to have to do with spring and spring changes. I loved what you guys wrote and found out about eggs and things that hatch from eggs. Got a lot of good responses back, and I loved reading all your writing that you sent me pictures of. So today we're going to do things a little different. In just a minute, we're going to talk about another springtime thing that we see a lot of at this time of year, and that's insects. And I'm going to share with you another informational text, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, I thought it would be some good practice for us if we did some of our phonics like we always would do at school. So if you would, just pause the video and try to find either a pencil and piece of paper or a whiteboard and marker, whatever you have handy at home. And when you're ready, just hit play again. All right, guys, so Miss Johnson's chosen some words from our story today that we're going to think about the sounds of to just practice some of our spelling skills. The first one we're going to talk about, of course, is the word insect. Now remember, when we have bigger words, we talk about how many parts are in the word. So if you would, clap that word out with Miss Johnson. Insect. Hold up the number of how many parts are in that word. 2. If you held up 2, you are correct. So our first part would be in. When we tap out the word in, we should probably know that from memory, but it's it. Remember, our mouth stretches out in a smile, a short I, and then we hear n. Your tongue lifts to the roof of your mouth. And our next part was set. So tap that out with me. S-E-C-T. Now write. S-E-C-T. Insect. Now, tell Miss Johnson out loud what we would need to add to the end of that word to make it more than one. If you said add an S, give yourself a pat on the back. When we add an S to a person, place, or thing, to a noun, it becomes more than one. So now it's insects, the same as our title of the book. All right, let's try another one. Our next word that we're going to hear in this story is parts. Now, this has a special vowel sound in the middle. So let's tap out the word. First of all, think. Miss Johnson said parts. We're going to leave off the ending and think in your brain, what was our base word? What was our root word? If you said part, kiss your brain. All right, so let's tap out part. Art. Part. That was 3 sounds. But if you have your thinking cap on, you know you spell that with 4 letters. So as you write, think about what special vowel sound is in the middle. And I want you to write the word part. All right, let's check. R. I know every word has a vowel, and even though I don't hear it, we should spell that as A-R, part, and there's our T. And once again, Miss Johnson's word was parts, so now I put my ending on, parts. And we could use that in a sentence. Why don't you try to use that word parts in a sentence? Maybe you said something like, an insect has lots of body parts. Or, my toy has many parts to put together. All right. Awesome job, everyone. Oops, Miss Johnson's board fell. We're having to make do since we're not at school here. Our next word that we're going to hear in our story would be mouth. All right, so let's think about what vowel sound we hear in the middle. Mouth. Mouth. I only tap 3 times, but we know some of those sounds have 2 letters when we spell. Ow. Let's see if you guys can write with me. Ow. Uh-oh. I know ow has 2 ways that it is spelled. O-W and O-U. But when I hear it in the middle of a word, we should know most of the time that is spelled with a... Hopefully you said O-U. Ow. And when we bite our tongue, that's our TH. Mouth. If you got that one right, give yourself a big Yahoo! All right. And our last word we're going to work on today is one that has another special sound we've talked a lot about. The word is yucky. Now, we know when we hear a k in the middle of a word, we have lots of different ways we spell that sound. So let's tap it out and listen to our vowel. Y-a-k-e. Now, our base word is just yuck, our root word. So let's try doing that word. Y-a-k. Y. Y-a. Short U. Y-a-k. Ooh, here's the trick. Am I going to use the C, the K, or the CK together? I'm going to give you a chance to answer that, and then I'll write it. Hopefully you chose CK together, and you remember the rule of why. When there's a short vowel in a word that ends with K, we always spell it with a CK. So now we have yuck, but we heard E. Now, if I just put an E on the end, we should know when we look at that word that just doesn't look right. When we hear E on the end of a word, we know we spell that with that magic letter that sometimes acts like a vowel. Hopefully you said Y. Yucky, yucky. Now, in our story, they're going to talk about a yucky insect known as a fly. And so that's why Miss Johnson chose that word. All right. We are ready to get started. Hopefully you enjoy doing a little phonics spelling with me. This is something fun, boys and girls, that you can do at home as well with your family, just to keep practicing some of your rules of sounds. Now, we've already learned that our book today is going to be an informational text, and we're connecting this with our learning on eggs, with our birds and things, about things we just noticed in the spring. Insects is written by Robin Bernard. She is the author. And of course, this book has photographs, so we're going to notice a lot of different photographs in here. The world is full of little creepy crawly things, but not all of them are insects. A wiggly worm isn't, a slowpoke snail isn't, and even a hairy spider isn't an insect. Do you think this animal is an insect? How many body parts do you count? 1, 2, 3. If you counted 3, then it's probably an insect. Is this katydid an insect? Let's count its legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you counted 6, you can be sure it's an insect. Insects are the only animals in the world that have 6 legs. A grasshopper has 6 legs, a beetle has 6 legs, and even a moth has 6 legs too. They are all insects. So think about which of these on these pages you have seen. The things that insects can do with their legs and feet might surprise you. A housefly, like you see in this photograph, it tastes things with its feet. A katydid hears through tiny holes near its knees. And there's the holes. A praying mantis uses its strong front legs to hold its prey. So here's the praying mantis in the photograph, and if you can tell, he's holding onto a grasshopper with his strong front legs, and he's going to eat him. A honeybee carries pollen in baskets on its legs. We learned a lot about bees in our study of plants and how important they are. And all of these, once again, have 6 legs, 3 body parts, and they're insects. Most insects, now notice it didn't say all, it said most insects have wings. Besides birds and bats, insects are the only animals that can fly. Flying makes it easier for them to find food. It's a fast way to escape from their enemies too. Nearly all insects have 2 feelers on their heads. They're used for feeling, tasting, and hearing things. Some insects can even smell with the feelers on their head. So that's another very important body part. Insects have mouth parts that are just right for the food they eat. Notice that compound word, mouth parts. A butterfly sips nectar. Its mouth is like a straw. A fly soaks up yucky garbage. Its mouth is like a sponge. So notice how this fly is using its body part to sip the nectar, the butterfly, and the fly is soaking up yucky garbage. A grasshopper chews plants. Its mouth is like a pair of scissors. And here's one that all of you probably have been familiar with, a mosquito. A mosquito, it sucks blood. Its mouth looks like and works like a needle. So he literally uses his mouth to poke into our skin and suck our blood out. And when he does that, he puts some stuff into our body that makes our skin itch. So he's not one of the insects we like very much. Insects are a favorite snack of frogs, birds, and bats. But insects have lots of ways to keep from being eaten. Some insects like to hide in plain sight. Tree hoppers can fool you. They look like thorns on a stem. Now, it's kind of hard to tell in this photograph, but that's actually something known as a tree hopper, and he looks just like a thorn on the stem. He's camouflaged. I bet some of you thought of that. A leaf insect looks just like another dry leaf on the ground. But if you look closely with your eagle eyes, you can see his legs and his feelers. It's easy to miss a tree bark grasshopper. He lives on a tree trunk. And Miss Johnson actually saw one of these yesterday at my house. And I almost didn't notice it until it started moving because he looks so much like the tree. Did you know that most insects hatch from eggs? Now notice these eggs, they don't look a lot like the bird's eggs we saw. They look like little jelly, wiggly things, kind of like those Orbeez that you guys like to play with. But that's the way an insect's eggs look. Many baby bugs look like their parents. They're just smaller. You can tell what they are even before they grow up. Baby milkweed bugs look like their parents, and so do baby roaches. Ugh. Other insect babies don't look at all like their parents. This caterpillar hatched from an egg too, but when it grows up, it will be a big brown moth. Because remember, caterpillars aren't always butterflies. Butterflies and moths are related though. And there's another picture of it that was under my finger. Insects are amazing, and they're everywhere. So be careful today where you step. You might find a six-legged creature that's more fun to watch than to squash. And we all know what squash means. That's what we do when we step on them. So, now that we've heard our story, I want you to think what this book was trying to teach you. It was trying to teach you the difference between an insect and other creatures like spiders and worms. Insects have how many legs? Hopefully you said 6. How many body parts? 3. And most insects have wings and feelers. Now that we've heard our story today, I would love for you guys to write Miss Johnson a journal entry on a piece of notebook paper, whatever type of paper you have at home. If you don't have any paper, maybe you could do it on a board, a whiteboard like this, but write me some things that you know about insects. Maybe you will write a narrative and you want to tell me a story about a time that you got stung by an insect known as a bee, or you found a wasp nest and you want to tell me what happened. Remember, narratives are stories about you and your life. Or maybe you just want to write me an informational story and give me some facts that you know about insects and different types of insects. Maybe you want to write me an opinion and tell me if you think insects are good or bad, and tell me why you feel that way. Either way, I would love to see your writing. Remember, the more you do and the harder you work, the smarter you get. I hope you enjoyed this story. Keep working hard. I miss you guys very much. And next time, we'll have another type of springtime story. The next one might not be informational text though, so you'll have to tune in to see what it is. Let me know if you need me for anything. Bye.